We also have other presence apart from Malaysia, 6 countries if you want to count.
Don't you think partnership is a very vague relationship? Partners can come and go.
The marketplaces like shut us off at one point. It's either A, we have to increase the revenues, or B, we have to restructure the company.
GDEX stock price, it is facing some overhang issues. If there's one thing that investors need to know about GDEX, what would that be?
Wow, I think...
Edmund, in my last video, I got the chance to meet Mr. Tiong, who showed me around the new GDXchange and things like that. Because of him, that was the first time your name was mentioned. You know, oh, Edmund, he's the guy who hit all the global businesses and stuff like that. So it's a pleasure to meet you finally in person. Edmund, welcome to the show. Yeah. So Edmund, Mr. Tiong was saying that, GDEX, you hate the global business and everything. But GDEX, as normal Malaysian known, is a homegrown Malaysian logistic company. So when he say global, right? How does global operation and this Malaysian business jive together? Because everyone has that feel that, hey, you just do the last mile, you send things in Malaysia.
Thanks for bringing that up. I think in terms of logistics, people don't really know that we also have other presence apart from Malaysia. I think now 6 countries if you want to count. So like Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Vietnam. So over the years, we've spent quite some time in these markets. And only recently, the past 2 years, we've entered into Saudi as well. So to do those Umrah and Hajj packages. And this month we are actually launching our Brunei lane. I think in terms of expansions, is only these few years we've really concentrated on those international lanes. And what I think the nuance about talking about global, right, is a bit more complex. It's about talking about helping brands. Let's say they have a home Malaysian base. They want to go to other markets. How do you then solve the logistics, question? How do I move items from A to B? Is it D to C? Is it B to B to C? Or do I need a warehouse in that country? So what I do with the team, is to advise people, how do you then do this? And from advisory, ultimately we will craft a solution for them. How do you get it, get it done right? And the second part of it is actually nowadays, in terms of planning logistics, right? IT is very, very highly associated. So example, let's say, okay, I want to send, have a fulfillment for my marketplace orders or my brand.com orders, right? So you've got to have a solution to basically manage all these orders. So that's not on the logistics. It's actually on the order management part already. And so it's the OMS, right? So how the OMS connects to the POS, and if they don't know how, then we will actually come in to say, hey, this is what you can use, and these are the things to manage your orders, and how do you manage your business essentially. So so topics can be about API, can be about IT integrations, POS, so on and so forth.
So you're bringing all these POS, all these web design services on that, not just in Malaysia, but potentially into all the markets that you operate in.
Yes. This last week I was very happy. Like I was helping this client. He's sending from Malaysia to all over the world. So, and we have a collaboration with SingPost, and we actually use a different lane for these packages. So I think one day I was surprised. There was like 500 parcels a day from this one SME. Things I like to do on a day-to-day basis.
What does it mean by you have a different lane? It's like your airport, you have a special lane for your
so
parcel.
Actually, so GDEX, we are part of the UPU. So in essence, like for we call it air freight, right? So there is a express mode, which is basically your DHLs, and you're talking about fast delivery, B2B. But for B2C, sometimes you need a very affordable and economical solution, and hence there is this postal lane. A postal lane is a little bit slower, but I mean, in terms of the basket size, the shipping fee won't cost a large amount, so that the basket size is out of reach from mass consumers, right? So this is another lane. Using postal lanes.
I see.
Correct.
So through my little time of understanding with the new GDEX 2.0 and all that, I believe the new GDEX 2.0 and the GDXchange came about because there was a stiff competition, your margin was compressed. All this comes from a vision that you want to transform from a logistic company into a tech company. But vision alone is not going to build a company, right? It's all about execution. And you are the guy that hits the execution of this initiative, this vision. So what is the biggest challenge in your view when you pick up this this role and this responsibility?
So a little bit about myself, right? So I think I've been in the company for about 10 years now. So, but before that, I was working elsewhere. Because the thing is, we've gone through a huge transformation over the past few years. And I think the past few years, earlier years, I think that was the most challenging. It was actually, have you heard of this term, in terms of challenges, that you can view this as a crisis, right? So in the Chinese, there's this word, 危机. I think it's a very poetic way of describing challenges or problems, right? So the 危 part is 危险, danger, right? And then the 机 is opportunity, right? So as for our transformation, this period, right? Past few years, we've gone through a lot of companies, structural transformations to basically weather the storm. We have to be more efficient, right? So how do we do that? Is actually we have a thinking about being mobile first. We have to use data and really understand to each route level what is the most efficient way to do things. So we actually have gone through that I would say a tough period. So now that was we have to wear a wartime CEO hat per se, right? So we have to make very challenging decisions. Some decisions is not the most popular, but you have to do it because it is essential, right? And now we're at the point whereby it's the opportunity point of view, right? So it's all the foundations that we built over the past few years, and how do you then synergize and basically essentially, I think shareholder side is really making the numbers happen. So that's the game for this year, is basically having all the foundation and then having a speed to market to have all these things come to fruition.
Do you recall some of those unpopular decisions that you made?
I think it's change management is one of the most difficult part, I would say, in any organization, right? So at one point, in Malaysia, I think we have about 4.3k employees. I mean, the whole group, we have 10,000, right? At that time, I think when the marketplaces basically shut us off at one point, masking all these things, right? So we experienced a drop in orders, and at that time we have 4.3k. And we realized that actually it's either A, we have to increase the revenues, or B, we have to restructure the company. But the thing is, I think we took a very, I would say, empathetic and a very human approach. So we didn't have any firings. Basically, we just have a hiring freeze. And, through natural attrition, right, we got to this point whereby we are now in Malaysia for the express division, about 3.6k employees. And from that point, we increased much more already. So we're more efficient in that sense. And actually that was, I think, our turning point. Basically, through that experience, we also discovered technologies like luck, right? So basically to make ourselves more efficient, right? To basically automate certain workflows, right? Secondly, we also looked at even our cloud providers, right? We've got to be which cloud provider can enable us to scale to the next level. So that's also other things that we looked into. So we looked at both sides, digital transformation and change management as a whole, to get us from a few years ago, and now we're actually at a better state of company. So, going for growth this year.
So I want to draw the attention more towards this GDEX 2.0, because apparently this GDEX 2.0 is the next driver of the business, right? First of all, before we go into it in detail, roughly how many % is all these new initiative contribute to the overall revenue or profit, if you may share?
Maybe just from a turnover perspective, right? So about 20% of the group now, the turnover attributed to IT, and 80% to logistics.
Okay. And this is with the effort of the past 5 years, you have grown to 20% of the revenue.
Correct.
Right. So how it grew to this point, from my understanding in the previous video together with Mr. Tiong, is that you acquired a few companies like Zilnex, StreetMac, Anon Security, MSE, that kind of company. But since then, haven't been hearing much new acquisitions from there. So what is the next phase of growth strategy to build this ecosystem?
Right. I think we have a two-pronged approach. Firstly is we look at internal, right? So with the companies that we have and the partnerships that we also have recently over the past year. So if we have the likes of AWS, Shopify, Okta, and so on and so forth, right, coming into our ecosystem. So with our subsidiaries and our company now, we created this company called GDEXchange to basically emphasize all the go-to-market efforts and to basically as a whole, better penetrate different markets in the region, right? So that's the first part. So basically, having a better focus in the group with our global partners as well. Number two is we're actually going for other forms of partnerships. So as we build, we need example for add-on side, we are a distributor for certain technologies. So to really grow this market is we're getting now more partners, resellers, so on and so forth to basically increase our ecosystem. And last but not least, the third lever, right, it'll be our M&As, right? So we have a watch at the moment, but it will be very, I would say, we're keeping an eye in the market of what is the new things that come into the picture.
Right.
Yeah.
What kind of companies would qualify for that M&A exercise?
Well, I think in terms of growth, we have certain growth expectations on GDEXchange and the IT BUs as a whole. So firstly, I think it has to fit the expectations of growth, right? So and secondly, it's how culturally it will be a fit. So I think these two are big criteria as we look on. And ultimately, if you see our ecosystem now as it is, we've got cloud, we've got cybersecurity, we've got even AI coming to the picture, as well as commerce technology. So something that will complement this would fit the criteria as well.
Okay, so it has to be something that is complementing
it has to make sense,
GDEX 2.0. So
yes.
You won't be going into like a restaurant.
Oh no,
or like
no.
Right.
Yeah, more technology focused.
Okay.
So within this, we will stay focused in terms of technology and logistics. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So walking around, I also realized that a lot of senior management people, they're not necessarily from the logistics business. They're also not necessarily from the tech business.
Right.
A lot of them, they are, I would like to say, investment background. How does that help the business to grow in this new phase of GDEX?
Well, I think maybe you're referring to the GDEX,
Your CEO office, a suite of people.
Right. We recently added a new independent director, so he comes with a breadth of, from that space, right, the technology space. So he comes with more insights to how to further grow GDXchange. At the senior management level, at the moment, there's me. I would say, at different levels, we're building the talents, right? So I was very happy, even like this month, not the new year started, and a few talents from big companies, IT companies came to GDEXchange to further build the business. So we're happy for now. Of course, there's more to come. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So on the logistics side, you are looking at the global business. At the same time, you're also looking at GDXchange.
Oh,
right.
Yeah. So the little update about that. So when we actually dropped the roadmap for the company, right? So I will actually take a back seat on the logistics side. So I will be more strategy, more advisory. So not less so on the GTM already. So that part, we actually have a CEO. So our group CEO, Karen, now would lead that part as a CEO to really drive the entire business.
Okay.
But I still come in as a strategic point of view. Hey, how do you do GTM for logistics, right? But now I will be more focused on the IT side of things.
Okay.
Because IT side of things, I think there's already quite a few subsidiaries and a few unique BUs inside the IT division. So I'll spend more time in IT.
Right.
Yeah.
Then I think I need to rephrase my question.
Right.
So my initial question was, you hit the global business and then you also hit the IT side of the business. Then obviously you are able to think and say, hey, then how do I make this a multiplier impact whereby I can apply all these tech partnerships and all that into my existing global footprint. But now you say you're taking a back seat in terms of this logistics side. So what is your plan when it comes to growth?
I think what I mean by that, right?
Okay.
I think taking the front seat would really mean really deep in the market, basically doing your tenders and stuff like that. So at a strategic point of view, I still look at the processes. So the thing is, ultimately the network is still there in terms of the customers we have. So it's actually able to leverage on this database that we accumulated over the years, right? And how do we essentially help those companies that we've helped logistics to transform the IT side. So does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah. So because the thing is, I also wear another hat as a director of the company. So still you can't. So as a director, you have fiduciary duty to look at strategy and stuff like that.
Okay.
But less so on do I help you do your tracing of your shipment, But that I still do from time to time.
Right. I got to know that GDXchange, this gallery is actually your idea.
Funny story.
Yes.
Funny story. Actually, the name GDXchange, it was actually a forum. So we actually had to arrange a forum for one of our tech principals. We are the GTM partner for Shopify. So basically, what we do is we will have those forums or workshops, right? So we're thinking, what do we call this workshop? So exchange of ideas, right? So that's why that was the initial iteration of GDEX But who knew, 1 year down the road actually becomes a more than a workshop. It's like a GTM engine. It's now to focus all the BUs to basically combine the company and conduit.
Right. That's a great idea, but how did it come to a point where you say I need a gallery to host GDXchange, where I bring in all the partners that can showcase their thing, make it like what Mr. Tiong say, a supermarket for tech, right?
That's a nice analogy. So I think in terms of technology, for the layman, I think it's very hard to envision what it means without a physical space. Because technology, especially software, right? You can't see a software unless you see a UI UX of the software, right? So to bridge this gap, we actually built this space to create awareness for users. Example, let's say certain companies, right, very big enterprises, they want to do change management, and what happens is there is when I say change management, I mean digital transformation as well as change management, right? So let's say you want to change a new ERP. So how do you then, example, gather all the requirements of different department heads, right? So to do that kind of things is actually very helpful to have a space and to basically run almost like a immersive workshop, right? To understand, hey, what does this department need? What does that department need? And what does top level wants, to achieve on this transformation, right? So that's why we have this space.
So what kind of potential customer are you looking to attract to walk in through the glass door? Is it like people who just inspire to start their own e-commerce outfit, or it must be of a certain size that says, hey, now I want to change, so I come in to ask for consultation.
Right.
But at what point it makes sense for a normal business person to say, it's time for me to come and explore GDXchange offerings?
Right. So I think in terms of the technology that we use, we are very customer obsessed. So again, point to the previous question, right? So how do we do transformation, right? So the technology that we carry in GDXchange is the technology that we also use in GDEX. So in those technologies, it helps us with being more efficient. It gives us more scale. And actually for us, we want to bring these technologies to the masses, right? Your SMEs, your enterprises. There's a range of products depending on the size that you're at. So example, let's say productivity app, right? So example, whether you're a team of 5, 10 or 15 or 50 or 100 or 500 or 1000, you need a collaborative app. So one of it is we have Lark to collaborate with your colleagues. That is something and I would say it's fairly easy to adopt, especially when you're new and nimble. And even an example like Shopify, right? They also use the same analogy, right? So for Shopify, they actually bucket their technology according to the use case. So there'll be like whether you're individual entrepreneur or you are from a startup become a scale up. So all your enterprise. So they've got different technology at different life cycle of a company.
Okay. So you're really targeting anybody who is into business to come in and have a chat with you.
Anybody that wants to change and want to basically do more and do better, right? So that's the people we want to work with. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so this space, it's launched on the 3rd of February, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
By this period of time, it already contributes 20% to the group revenue.
Yeah.
What is the end goal here?
I think for the next few years, I won't mention about spin-off. I think that one is more for a topic for another day. But anyways, for the next few years, in terms of scaling the company, that's what I'm very focused on. So it will be more significant in the group, I would say, in the coming in this year alone. I think we are targeting quite aggressive growth, and for the next coming years, we're also gunning for growth, lah.
Right.
So, I'm young, so I'm very aggressive. So, and I think the team is also very aggressive. So I'm very happy with the team I have now. I think they're really hungry, and I think the people that we work with. So, example, I work with a lot of salespeople in the logistics side. So ultimately, when we have this exchange, I also think it's also a conduit to improve everyone's livelihoods. Because example, when I was doing sales, because I mean, just to share a bit, I was actually earlier in my career, I was doing SME sales, right? Only for Korea. So it's knocking on doors, opening up for, ABC, Scenario Baha and stuff like that. So it was actually a very, not the easiest, because it's a long cycle, right? But when you have more products to sell as a commercial guy, that would have helped me in my earlier days. So I think this is a conduit to improve everyone's livelihood in the group. Yeah.
Again, if today, 2026, GDXchange contributes 20% of the revenue to the group, what would be the ideal mix as the new upcoming leader of the company? I'm sure, because now because you are the execution guy of this initiative.
Well, if I can paint a very ambitious picture, I would one day hope that, I think we have to understand that logistics scaling and IT scaling is a bit different. So logistics, you're talking about, how big is your auto hub or your hubs or your sorting centers, right? So there's a time to build your sorting centers or branches, whether we like it or not. There's a physical restriction, right? Whereas IT, there is no physical restriction. Of course, data centers, there's a certain your electricity, right? But in terms of SaaS models or managed services or all these things, right? There's less natural restrictions. So your scaling, it can be much further. So by having said that, I would think that IT would definitely be could say bigger than the logistics side in the years to come.
Bigger lah. But
that's
there's no ideal, like a mix, like a
so
60-70% of the group revenue, for example.
I mean, if we're very ambitious, 60-40 in the sense that 60 would be IT and 40. No, I won't say 40, like maybe like 45 or 40, but now the base is still 20%. So it's still a long runway. But hopefully not too long, so to not disappoint shareholders, right?
So what do you tell yourself to achieve that very ambitious goal from 20% to 60%? I think specifically for yourself, you have the benefit that, I am part of not just the management, but I'm also part of the ownership, that inner circle, right? So I have certain unfair advantage.
Sure.
So what kind of leader do you think you want or you need to be for you to grow that 20% to 60%?
This kind of growth, right? I would say it needs a talent and a team to ultimately achieve this kind of growth, and partners as well. So basically, we need a team to move mountains, right? So I think to achieve this is about people. You take every project as to success the project, whether for yourself or for the client, right? So treat every POC, every project that is your own, and you want to make it successful for the client. And I think to reach to that, we also want to partner big. So all of our partners are global companies, right? So if we are distributing that technology, we will in turn be big ourselves, right? So it will be a percentage of what is their turnover of let's say we are distributing AWS, right? So in this region, so as long as our partners are big, I think ourselves we won't be too bad also lah.
Okay, but don't you think partnership is a very weak relationship? I mean, partners can come and go.
Sure.
And then what if one day the big cloud company say, "Oh, I don't want to work with you anymore"? Then wouldn't it put you in a very difficult position?
That's the thing. I think we also have a SaaS company, i.e. Zilnex, right? I really think in terms of the big tech, right, there's one thing that, because I think we have to understand that technology, there's two sides of it, right? I love this book. I read Peter Thiel's 0 to 1. So there's two sides of the equation. One is product and one is distribution. So as a big tech, right, product scales almost infinitely, right? So 0 to 1 is like 1 divided by 0 is infinity, right? So your product can scale infinitely. Distributions, while it's faster than logistics scaling, right, there's still human attached to it. Like example, I have to do a PO for let's say cloud modernization of this company. You still need that time to educate the client and sign a PO event, essentially, right? So that's the distribution part. So as a big tech, normally the strategy would be to focus on the growth that goes infinitely, and distribution part you will leave it to the partners in the region. For example, I mean Jeff Bezos won't speak Malaysian slang, so essentially every IT big tech, they would want partners in different regions. Likewise, so like Zillnex, they are a SaaS company. So again, to really grow this SaaS company again is through a partnership model.
Right.
So I don't envision myself, going to Latin America and speak Spanish and to open that market myself. So I would rather have partners to do that for
Okay, yeah. So you think the nature of the business it's
collaborative?
It's collaborative. It's partnerships, because it doesn't make sense for whoever from a foreign country that comes here try to learn Malay and that kind of stuff.
So they are better off at focusing at infrastructure and the technology itself, and leave distribution to people who are good at it. And I find that I'm being Malaysian myself, right? I think we are maybe like the pretty good at being a world's GM per se lah. So like we can able to speak a bit of Mandarin, and we also can build a bridge with US technology. So we're like that healthy middle ground per se.
One last question, Edmund. And I think this is a very important question, especially for stock investors.
Right.
GDEX stock price, we all understand that it is facing some overhang issues over there. Strategic partners looking to exit, that kind of stuff. That kind of hinder the share price performance. But I think with the new initiative, GDEX 2.0, the new GDEXchange, the transformation is going to bring a new life to the business, right? So much so that I think perhaps one day you may even recategorize yourself from a logistic company to a tech company, right? Hopefully, right? But as of today, if there's one thing that investors need to know about GDEX, what would that be? What would they need to be aware of and keep follow through the story together with you to reach to the point that they can realize their investment gain in the future?
Wow. The share price also, I would say, is a bit of a lagging effect in a sense. So GDEX financially, right, we weren't doing too great about 2 years ago, and last year I think the financials are improving. So for me, I think the next few years will be, for me at least, it's a turnaround in terms of the place where we're heading, the numbers that we will strive. So to say that, I would say I'm gunning for growth. So GDEX is gunning for growth. Yeah.
Right. So I heard a few keywords there: turnaround, growth.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's mainly these two lah.
I would say so.
Would you like to put a number on those words?
That one I think you have to speak to your financial advisor.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your time, Edmund. Really great. I mean, you are the execution guy, so I think the limelight will be on you going forward. To make sure more shareholders' value is being created. Maybe one day everyone can enjoy that dividend or that super upside, as a logistic or a tech company. We don't know. Right. But thank you so much for your time, Edmund, today, and hope to see you again next time very soon.
Yes, thank you.